Three, here goes. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Facilitation and Show. This is a show mainly meant for facilitators and trainers conducting workshops virtually or face to face on any kind of behavioral topic from leadership to self awareness to high performing teams and so on. The idea of this long form conversation is to help fellow facilitators, fellow trainers, fellow instructional designers, even with techniques, with helping them change mindsets or bust some long held facilitation myths. Even tips and tricks find their way in here. And all of this from facilitators who are masters of their craft from across the world. So if you're starting out as a facilitator or if you're a tenured veteran, you'll find something in here for you. And today's guest on the show is Parul Varghese. I hope I have the pronunciation right. Parul's been a hardcore L&D professional with almost 2 decades. She says, please use the word almost. So almost 2 decades worth of L&D experience. She's also been a good long-standing friend, and we've gone to battle shoulder to shoulder many a time in varied leadership workshops. She's been a consultant on the other side of the fence, but now and for some time now, she's been working for an organization called Exceedance, which is a global insurance consulting and product organization. It's a global organization, and she's heading the L&D division of the organization. So welcome to the show, Parul.
Thank you so much, Greg. And I feel that it being called the Greg Chapman Show sounds more powerful to
And
me. Yeah,
facilitation and
because you're a
yeah,
brand in yourself, right?
yeah,
Thank you so much. Yeah, I remember our days when we went on those battles together. So
yeah.
it's been absolutely fantastic knowing you, working with you, and here we are doing a podcast together. So thank
Nice.
you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm just wondering, Greg Chapman Show, Facilitation, and I said, let me just try out this name, previously called the Greg Chapman Show. So let's see how it works. Parul, straight out of the gate, I would like to switch roles for you and say, you know, I'm sure you've been part of several training programs wherein you weren't facilitating, yeah, the boxing gloves off. You were attending it as a participant. Now, what I want to ask you is, can you think of a workshop that really transformed you or transformed some aspect of your life to a small extent or a large extent, but where you were a participant, not a facilitator? So if you can just
Yeah.
speak to that a bit.
So, Greg, before I answer that question, I would like to say a couple of things. One, I'm a big fan. I've been hearing your podcasts. My personal favorite is the one with Bharat. Bharat is another dear friend, and we haven't co-facilitated, but I've been a participant in his one of his workshops. So yeah, a great fan of Bharat's style of facilitation. The other was a recent podcast that I heard, and I will draw inspiration and try and double click on some of the points,
Mhm.
for this question that you asked me from the show with Kinshuk. Yeah. Before I do that, I want to add a perspective
Mhm.
to what I heard in the
Mhm.
previous podcast.
Mhm.
So my fellow colleague, my fellow industry colleague, Kinshuk,
Mhm.
said that uh, facilitators are primarily introverts.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want to pigeonhole them as
Mhm.
or pigeonhole us
Yeah.
as facilitators as
Yeah.
introverts. I would say that we can be introverts or extroverts.
Right.
Like for me, I'm a hardcore extrovert.
Right.
What I feel is we are more reflective.
Mhm.
You know, we reflect from uh, each event, each situation that happens. We
Yeah.
try and mull over it.
Mhm.
Like in Hindi, there is a word called manthan.
Mm.
So we do a lot of manthan in that sense, and that, I guess, helps us develop.
Mm.
Um, Another thing, what I loved about Kinshuk's podcast was when he was talking about the younger him and
Mhm.
how he has transformed over the years being a facilitator, and how sort of, that's added to him as a person. Was I would say that for me, one of the very strong things is that when I'm sitting in that power suit with my red lipstick on as a facilitator, uh, is is the fact that I'm learning from other people's experiences, to me. Someone once asked this question saying, why do you read books? And I really thought, why do I read books? What's the point? Why am I reading? So I realized that I read books to learn from other people's experiences, because in this lifetime I might not be able to get all the experiences, but I learn from their experiences when I pick up a book and I read, right? It's the same thing as a facilitator. I'm learning from those participants experiences which are being shared. uh, so I think that's a very powerful experience. And though I chose L&D as a profession, but I feel that L&D has transformed me as a person, as an individual. So it's not just that I'm I'm earning money, or I'm earning my livelihood from this profession, but I'm also being a better individual, being a better person. And now moving to your question of when,
Before, sorry,
sorry.
before we do, just to give our listeners, our viewers, a little context on that. So the question I had asked Kinshuk was that how has, pretty much the same question, how has facilitation transformed you as a person? And he actually went back to, a very long time back, I think 2003 or something, when we were initially together working for the same organization, and from there he reflected on. So yeah, thanks for that, Parul. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so moving on from there, and answering your question on when I've been on the other side of the
Mhm.
table and being a participant. So for me, Greg, that transformation, if you
Mhm.
ask, didn't happen at a click of a button.
Mm.
For me, that transformation happened over time.
Mhm.
Yeah. uh, if you meet the Parul 10 years or 20 years back versus the Parul that you meet today, two very different people. Yeah. And we've known each other for a while, so I'm sure you'll be able to, you'll sort of agree with me that that for me sort of happened. And I would say I was very lucky
Mhm.
to be a part of those experiences at different points in time. Yeah. And and again, sorry, I'll keep, as in I'm going back to that last podcast that I heard. But one of the points that was made was that when you want your participants to transform, you need to create a space, you need to create that energy in that space.
Right.
Yeah. Which leads to vulnerability and sacredness. Yeah. and and what I'm going to give to our participants or to our listeners today is the technique of questioning. you know the technique of questioning is what sort of made me make my transformations over the period, right? So so I still remember in multiple workshops. I don't even recall the sequence or which workshop, what transformation happened, but I always grappled with one part of my personality which I wanted to sort of modify. And that was, so I'll bring it here. So I thought I was always very reactive, and I didn't sort of take a pause and then respond to the situation. I would typically react to a situation, and that's what I wanted to sort of, not, I wouldn't say change, but I wanted to modify that part of my personality. uh, and and when the calmer me would would be in that situation, I would act more maturely. But typically what would happen is that I would react, and that's one thing that I wanted to really modify and calm the monkey mind, as they call
Mm.
it, right? And those questions over the period that the facilitators asked, you know, they pushed me to reflect.
Mm.
Yeah. And every time an incremental change, or sorry, or not a change, an incremental shift
Mm.
happened in my mind, you
Mm.
know, I was able to identify the benefit of pausing.
Mm.
you know I was able to identify the benefit of responding over reacting. And I'll give you some of the questions. I digged through my notes.
Nice.
So one of the questions that one facilitator asked me was that, if I was to live for 100 years,
Mm.
how will my life change?
Right.
uh, then he flipped the question and said that, if I was to live for 20 years,
Right.
how would my life change?
Mm.
you know and that sort of pushed me to think
Mm.
multiple things. One was that I don't know for how long am I living, right? Whether I'm living for 20 years or for 100 years, right? But if I was to live for 100 years,
Mm.
you know I would have more time, and I would, maybe do things differently. So that was one.
Mm.
And then in one of the other workshops, one question that got asked was, what's your story? Yeah. And when that question came, I was like, what's my story? Meaning, is my story, or do I want how do I want people to remember me? you
Mm.
know or how do I want to tell that story? And do I want to change that story? Yeah. So that was one experience. The other experience, and I absolutely loved, I'm a TA 101
Mm.
practitioner. And I was looking at my notes, and one of the questions that not one, there were a set of questions that the facilitator asked us, and these are called self-awareness questions.
Mm.
So the question was, what happens over and over again,
Mm.
which ends up making you feel, or which ends you up in a certain emotion every time?
Mm.
It pushed me to think
Mm.
that what is my red button?
Mm.
Yeah. Who are the people involved? Does it happen with everyone, or does it happen with specific people?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does it all start? I feel that these are very powerful questions. If someone actually sits down and
Yeah.
wants to make a change, or wants to make a modification in his or her behavior, wants to do that, these are very powerful questions. What happens next? Yeah. And and then and then
Mm.
you know so sort of, the whole situation gets replayed in my mind.
Right.
And that camera outside of me, which is me only,
Mm.
is sort of viewing that picture.
Mm.
Yeah. How does it all end?
Mm.
What is everyone feeling?
Mm.
What is everyone doing? Yeah. What do you say to yourself? So these 9 questions, and I have my answers to these 9 questions also in my notes, but I feel that those these questions were very powerful self-awareness questions. And I would want to end by saying that questioning is a very powerful technique, you know, and very old saying by Einstein: if I was given a problem to solve,
Mm.
I would think through 55 minutes,
Yeah.
of what questions will I ask.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel that if as a facilitator you
Mm.
can up your game, by improving your questioning techniques, by thinking through those questions.
Right.
What's the what's the objective that you wish to achieve? Yeah. And also a slight deviation, uh, as a now I'm wearing my facilitator's hat. We used to play this game when I was doing sales training very early on in my career, and we used to play this game of Queens of Heart. And the game was that on a piece of paper you write Queen of Hearts,
Okay.
and you put it in a participant's pocket.
Right.
Yeah. And the activity is that how do you ask those questions which will make the participant to answer Queen of
Right.
Hearts.
Right.
Yeah. And then you say that, okay, there is a deck of cards. How many cards does it have? How many how many sweets are there, right? What color, and so on and so forth. And then you
Right.
actually lead the participant to say Queen of Hearts, right? And
Absolutely.
that's the power of questioning that I would like to highlight here.
Absolutely. I could take this conversation in so many different places, and as you were talking, I was busy writing down also. So what I see is you're looking at the epiphanis as not a moment, but as part of the content that got you to reflect, and over time, you use some questions which got you to change,
Yeah.
and which sorry, which also leads me to a practice which says you spoke of the red buttons,
Hmm.
which actually leads me to think of journaling as journaling the anger moments, journaling the out there moments as a good technique to really go deeper into the red button moments and find out. So the same 9 questions that you gave us, if you sit with those, if you journal around those 9 questions, or 4 or 5 of those 9 questions, even not taking anything away from those 9 questions, but if you sit and journal with those 9 questions, then even if it is post the act of anger, then that just gives you so many insights, and really helps you with
Yes.
anger.
Yeah, because see, in the moment,
Right.
Greg, when you're angry,
Yeah.
then your ability to, in at least in my case, your ability to uh, think is restricted. Yeah. And that is what these questions did, was that when you're sitting and really reflecting and doing that manthan,
uh,
is where you say, oh, you know what, I could have done this differently.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. That is true. And I'm also a reminder of, I think Peter Thiel, I think his first name is Thiel, the founder of PayPal, right?
Hmm.
So he had this great question. He says, why can't you achieve? And this got me thinking, this really, and this is no, it just emerged right now as I'm thinking. And he says, why can't you achieve your 10-year goal in 6 months? Like, boom. Now, the answer to that, so, I thought about it a lot, and it got me moving. And a few of the changes that I made in my life is that
Sure.
that question has been a little bit of a guide to that trying to respond to that. But it's also a good, it's like a koan almost. It gets you to really challenge your mindsets and do some good thought experiments. So I think the way I'm looking at questions is, as we go into our facilitation, one of the things that we tell our learners is that the way we like to look upon it, it's not the only way, but the way we like to look upon it is that it's like you're chiseling out a statue. So there's a block of stone, you're chiseling out a statue, and the statue's there. And you're just hacking away, as Bruce Lee puts it, hacking away the non essentials. And
Yes.
a little comma I'd like to add to that sentence, saying that the questions are your chisel, and maybe the hammer. So,
Yeah.
which actually
They're the tools.
they're the tools, absolutely.
Yeah.
So to that help you get that nice product out of there. Now, I wanted take a little bit of a left turn over here, and I want to go to something slightly different. I want to
Mhm.
tap into your experience as an L&D professional working for an organization, like you're right now.
Hmm.
So you're doing a lot of training, but you're also taking care of a lot of stuff, which and I think the thought behind it was, could I add value to fellow facilitators, whether internally or externally, looking to up their game when they go to a client? What the hell is a client looking for? So, my question over here is that, when it comes to a facilitator that you would like to recontract with. So, let's just say, as a facilitator, you've gone out, you've hired her or him, and the show's gone on well. Now, you would like, so whatever happens, you'd like to go back and tell that person, hey, let's do this again. So when
Hmm.
does that, so what are some of the, apart from the smiley sheets, and I'm not going to the smile, so what are some of those indicators or outcomes that tell you that, hey, you know what, this person really upped my trust quotient, and I would like to go with this person all over again.
Sure. Sure. So very, very good question, Greg. And here the answer to this question that I'll give is completely honest, and how I think, and the kind of person that I am. It may or may not hold true for many others. That's my own perspective. So the biggest problem that I have, uh, first I'll talk about contracting and then I'll go to recontracting. The first biggest problem that I have is that it's like those people who call you for a credit card sale. They have a script, right? And they go as per that script. If you ask them anything off the script, it'll be very different from difficult for them to answer. Yeah. So unfortunately, a lot of times when organizations do this cold calling, or they come for a pitch out, they they are, they want to just, they don't want to listen. There is a there's an assumption in the mind that this is what your solution is,
Mm,
and I have the solution.
mm.
So you sell what you want to sell.
Right.
You don't want to sell what I want to buy.
Mm,
Please take a pause, understand what I'm saying, you know.
right.
And I'll give you an example. So recently, in we are sort of talking to a lot of consultants. We are building some of these frameworks and practices. So when I was talking to one of the facilitators, he very, what do I say, gracefully accepted the fact that he does not have anything to offer to us at this point in time.
Mm,
He asked me what are the needs and what is that I'm grappling with,
mhm,
as far as learning and development is concerned, and said that, oh, you know what, maybe we should connect after 6 months.
mm,
I don't think so. I have anything to offer to you right now.
mm,
Yeah. I think that's the person. I will definitely go back after 6 months and check
mm,
if I think I have something.
mm,
Yeah, that's one. Second is that please respect the time of your client. Okay,
mm,
and I don't want to be, what do I say, I don't want to be nosy here. Unfortunately, when you're sitting in an organization, you get pulled into multiple conversations, right? And 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 it's a universal truth now that when we are working from home, the whole office and home, that cut off cut on time is sort of blurring. So so you get pulled into multiple meetings. You're managing multiple responsibilities and realities at the workplace. In between, if someone is constantly writing emails, asking for time, making phone, I feel that that's just a waste of your and my time,
mm,
you know. So like, I'll give you an example. There was this one person who got introduced to me. She wrote, I wrote her, okay, we could connect at so and so time and date and whatever. uh, she responded to that email with something that was not right. I responded back to that email. As in, I asked on that email, what is it? Then I get another email with the same mistake
Mhm.
again, with the mistake was actually the person didn't get my name right. Yeah.
Oh
Then
God.
I got the second time the same email when the person didn't get my name right. Then I got the third email where the time the person got my name right, So then I mentioned the time where we could catch up, right?
Mhm.
And there was no contact that was made during that time.
Mhm.
Uh, After that week passed by is when the person got in touch with me.
Gosh.
Uh,
Okay.
so I have already lost
Yeah.
that person somewhere, right?
Right.
Then after that, I gave that person time. We had a connect, and now I think it's been almost a week,
Mhm. Like
and
right
we
now?
agreed, huh?
Okay, almost a week. Like right
Almost a
now,
week, and
you're
we
talking
agreed
about
on
right now,
certain things.
previously. So it is almost a week.
Recently,
Oh, okay, okay. Oh,
yeah, it's
wow.
all been
It's
almost a
fresh.
week
Okay.
that the person agreed to send me something, and
Okay.
the person hasn't sent it.
Wow.
And so, I think what you mentioned was the trust question, right?
Hmm.
That's already sort of
Hmm.
not there, right?
Yeah.
Meaning you don't respect the other person's time, you don't respect timelines, you don't meet your commitments.
Right.
How can I give you something so sensitive as people development or talent development
Hmm.
to take care of?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's so that whole respect and meet your commitment is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fourth and the last thing that I would say in terms of recontracting, if I have seen, and I've seen it multiple times, definitely, yeah, the smiley sheets and all of that, they matter. uh, but if you were able to make that shift, that change,
Hmm.
help me meet my business commitments, or my business imperatives, that's the time when I would call up someone. Yeah. I would call up someone also when there is no, when I talk to someone, that there is no, what do I say, that expectation of that I will get something in return.
Hmm.
Yeah. Lot of times I'm in touch, like you and I were in touch, right? But we were in touch uh, to just talk and know what's happening in the
Okay.
industry. You're on the other side of the fence, right? So
Right.
for you to know my perspective, for me to know your perspective, we were in touch, right?
Right.
So like this, just be in touch with the training organization, and not with an expectation of what will I get in return.
Okay. Okay, Carol. So I think I think apart from the even the hygiene factor, the respect for time, the listening. I think what's emerging as I hear you talk about these various points is that, yeah. So first, for me, you can fall in love instantly. You can't trust instantly. You know.
I agree.
So, and that's how trust differs from love. It's something that
Yes.
takes a while to build and doesn't happen like that. So that I think.
But you can break it like that.
Oh yeah, thank you for pointing
Yeah.
that out. Absolutely, absolutely. You can break it like that, and once broken, uh, quick fix ain't gonna help. Right?
Yeah.
Super glue ain't
Yeah.
gonna help. So I think that's um, to me, above skills is one of the pieces is trust. So and as you're talking, what's emerging is that you're also looking at it in terms of a relationship, which is, I know this is maybe the obvious thing, but it is making business happen. And it's relationships, long lasting relationships. And when I say long lasting relationships, what I'm meaning very specifically, when it's being in there for the long haul. Like you said, this person that met you said, I don't have anything. So gracefully backing out. That's
Yeah.
really upping your or at least to a certain extent, upping your trust quotient, saying, wow, this guy is, or this girl is being vulnerable, telling me as it is. Now, I can hear a lot of people saying that, oh, no, 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 but, our strategies and amplifon, just uh, shout out our message to as many people as you can, and let's go. And what I'm saying is, yeah, sure, go ahead, do that. But at some point in time, you also want to begin slowly to work with people who value what you stand for, value vulnerability. So there are many clients or many people out there who, if you just push it out, what you've got, and they just want to do a tick in the box, and they probably go for it. So short run, yeah, perhaps that could
Maybe.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not being a little preachy about this and say, never do that and stuff. I'm saying go figure. But short term, yeah, maybe that helps. But in the long term, what this also would do is that you gradually start working with people who like you. Yeah, but I think equally important is that who you also like and who you value. And that's a good, relationship to build over a period of time. And then, not
I
always
agree.
out looking for new relationships, but just working with a good set of people.
Right. And when you make this point on building relationship, also I would like to, make one point here. A lot of time, we work with organizations
Mhm.
who in turn hire freelancers.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we are actually, we contracted with the organization. Now the person who sold us the solution is out of the picture, right?
Mm.
But now we are working with with that freelancer to actually execute the project.
Right.
A lot of times in my experience, it has also happened is that that facilitator
Mm.
tries to bypass the relationship with the organization and try and build the relationship directly with the client.
Mm.
you know and in that process, to build that relationship with the client, they try and bicker about
Yeah.
the training organization, which I feel is a bad practice.
Yeah.
Because if you're not true to that mouth that's feeding you,
Absolutely.
then how can you be true to me? That's the
Absolutely.
question that comes to my mind, right?
Absolutely.
So uh, so so be very careful of how are you going about building that relationship
Yeah.
is also important for me.
And this just struck me. What you're really saying is old-fashioned stuff, cliches are important in this case.
Yeah,
Integrity. So
yeah,
what you're really saying is integrity. You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
and relationships. So we all know integrity is important. Relationships are important. But you're saying, yeah, you need to be a subject matter expert to a certain extent. But then the difference. So that's a necessary condition. But the differentiating factor is coming with that integrity, with the ability to listen, with the ability to be vulnerable and put the client's needs, if not ahead of yours, but at least give it some semblance of thought and
Exactly,
reserve some
exactly. And
attention for that.
yeah, and Greg, also see, I've been a consultant myself. I work for consulting organizations, and I've worked and I work for consulting organizations. So there's a phrase that we use,
Mm.
that you should always be the trusted advisor for your client,
Mm.
right? So the client should think of you as a partner,
Yeah,
and whatever it is, say to the client honestly, transparently, yeah, but honesty without consideration, someone once
yeah.
taught me, is
It's
is
ridiculous.
a bad practice.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good book for if anyone watching this hasn't read it, please go. If you're in this business, the trusted advisor, I think it's David Meister, if I'm not. But yeah, it's a yellow and blue colored book. It's a brilliant book if you're in consulting, along with Flawless Consulting. So just came to my
yeah.
mind. Um, we're almost close to getting over and done with. I just want to talk a little bit about COVID. And since
Mm-hmm.
I like to think we're emerging from it. Never
Yes.
mind, never mind a lot of the news channels, but I like to think that we're emerging for it. Now that we're emerging from the COVID, what are organizations looking for? And I'm saying if you could speak to consultants or facilitators coming in to do a workshop or a learning journey, what are organizations looking for? What are teams looking for? Or so whatever level you want to choose, it's all three or one. So organization, team, and individual. Um, What are people looking for, and what's the mood over there?
So I think, first of all, I would agree that we are emerging.
Hmm.
And I follow a lot of news on COVID, not to, sort of scare myself, but really be aware and up to date with what's happening. So there's a lot of positivity that's there. 6%
But you're
of the
also scaring
US.
yourself a little bit, no?
Sorry?
Did you also scare yourself a little bit in the process?
I think I did have my moments. I'll be lying if I'll say that it didn't
Yeah.
really scare me at certain points. Yeah, meaning I got depressed when we were like in the midst of it. I
Yeah.
did get my moments, low moments where I was scared, upset.
Right.
What will happen? So there was a lot of fear, but I guess all's well for now.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of positive news that's
Mm.
out there. 6% approximately the
Right.
US population has been vaccinated.
Right.
The
Wow.
projections are 75%, and these are CNN updates. 75% would be vaccinated by the end of summer,
Okay.
and we need about 70% population to be vaccinated for us to achieve herd immunity.
Yeah.
And in India, about 41 lakh frontline workers have been
Right.
vaccinated, and
Right.
the target is about 3 crores. So yeah, so off the topic, but
Yeah.
just to show off
No.
and tell you that I'm reading and I know
Yeah.
what's happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So coming back to the question, I think what's the mood? The mood is, I would say, some of the organizations have already gone back. Yeah.
Right.
So I know my friends, I wouldn't name them, but typical, what do I say, consumer goods,
FMCG. Yeah.
those folks have already gone back to office.
Right.
Maybe all 5 days a week, maybe a few
Yeah.
or a couple of days in a week, they're already back in office. The organizations who have not,
Mm.
you know, now they are sort of preparing to either go back,
Mm.
or I would say that a large part of the whole business
Mm.
is saying, how do we look at a hybrid
Yeah.
working model?
Right.
you know uh, how, because one good thing that has happened as a part of this pandemic is that people are now, what do I say, more tolerant
Mm.
of someone working from home.
Mm.
Yeah, I've had bosses who've hated this whole concept of work from
Right.
home. They always thought that you're snoring away and not
Yeah.
really working when you're working from home,
Yeah.
right? So people, bosses, organizations have become more tolerant to that fact that yeah, work can happen even if you're working from home. So 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 that's sort of given organizations the outreach to talent in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Mm.
Yeah. And now if you've got someone at an x amount of compensation,
Mm.
living, say for example, in what do I say, I can't think of, say for example in Indore.
Mm.
Yeah. And you
Dehradun.
now want, huh?
Dehradun.
Dehradun, yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I would say
Yeah.
Dehradun is still not so, but yeah,
Sure.
sorry,
Sure.
no, this thing, but yeah. So, say for example, in Dehradun or in Indore, if you
Yeah.
have someone working, and now you want this person to shift to Gurgaon or Noida
Mm.
and start coming to office every day,
Mm.
you might lose that talent.
Mm.
So organizations hence are looking at building a hybrid model
Yeah.
where they can still have access to that talent which is sitting in tier 2, tier 3 cities,
Right.
right? Not get everyone back in office. So the mood really is, how do we then collaborate in this hybrid
Right.
work, work from anywhere model? How does that work? So that's
Mm.
one big thing that I'm hearing. So like I was talking to a friend of mine, he works with a utility organization in Delhi. They've been working through the pandemic, right?
Mm.
Your electricity can't be off, and especially when you're working from home, they have these very strict timelines. So some of those folks have already gone back to office. It's
Mm.
only the lucky few who are still enjoying the benefits of working from home.
Mm. So
Yeah.
helping people. So what I'm taking from here is helping people work in this hybrid model. Helping people come together. Um, Probably helping people resolve conflict in this hybrid model. So when you're dealing with a virtual team and face-to-face
Yeah.
team, so how do you deal with that? I think these are a couple of things that would.
Right. And also to add to that, Greg, one thing that I feel we are not facing right now, but once this hybrid model will kick in, there is a syndrome called FOMO, which
Mhm.
is fear of missing out. So, for example, if it is me of the entire team who's working
Yeah,
from home, and
yeah,
the entire team is going out for coffee breaks and dinners and outings and stuff like that, which I'm missing
right,
on a
right,
daily basis,
right,
or even if not on a daily basis, maybe regularly, because maybe I choose to go to office twice a week. Yeah,
right.
if at if there's a option like that.
Yeah,
So then in that case, how do you start dealing with those insecurities
yeah,
of the workforce which is sitting at home and working from home?
yeah. It's like adding a dimension to inclusion, and
Yeah.
I think we already deja vu almost. We already see something of this FOMO playing out even before the COVID. So if you had the corporate office or HQ, and you have the
Yeah.
regional offices, so there's all this constant thing of, oh shucks, I can't get promoted as quick as HQ, and God knows for some organizations that is true. Um, what's happening over there, I really can't tap into those opportunities. So there is this lot of, and I know many people who have left, not because they're getting a higher salary figure, but because, simply because they're not going to be at a regional office, they're going to be at, HQ or corporate office,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
So I think managing I'm not saying it's true or you'd have less opportunity or not, but I'm sure there will be both sides of
Yep.
the coin. But I think managing that's going to be something we'd need to deal with. In closure,
Yep.
Parul, I just wanted to ask a message you'd like to give out to facilitators. So let's say you had a whiteboard and you had a blue marker. Um, I'm reading Chaskin on color coding and stuff like that. So yeah,
Okay.
hence the blue marker. So anyway, so you've got this whiteboard and you've got this blue marker, and you walk into the room and you want to write out a message to facilitators who are going to come, and you're not going to be there. They're just going to come by, walk, and see this message, and it could be inspiring or transforming or just informing. Uh,
Hmm.
what would you like uh, to write on that whiteboard?
Hmm. I didn't think of this, but what comes to my mind has been my favorite quote, and I think I live it in letter and spirit both. Is live life king size.
Okay.
Yeah, for me it would be queen size.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, uh, and when I say this, I'll put it in the context of facilitation.
Yes, yes.
That when you are there, you
Mm,
know uh, make sure that you are the leader,
mm,
you are that leader of that space,
yeah,
right? You are the king there, really.
right.
Yeah, enter that
Or queen.
room with that, or the queen. Yeah,
Yeah,
enter the room with that, what do I say, with that chest, blown up,
yeah,
and with that confidence,
right.
right, with that charisma,
Absolutely.
uh, and and then there is no looking back.
Yeah,
Once you've entered, right?
right,
Then you're in the ring.
right.
Yeah, make the most of the space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
another thing, sorry, two
No,
thoughts. What I always was taught, and I've been very lucky to have some of those mentors and seniors in my life who've always taught me and who've always been very tolerant. uh, Make mistakes,
mm,
learn from those mistakes,
yeah,
and make new mistakes every time.
yeah,
Yeah, And that's what I tell my children also, that it's okay to make mistakes. Thank God we are not doctors.
Right.
So we're not going to take someone's life.
Yeah.
And it's okay to make mistakes,
Right.
because when you enter that space, that facilitation space, with that mindset that it's okay to make mistake, you're just leaving some burden off,
Mm.
right? You're more open to experimenting. You're more open to willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Mm.
you know so move forward with that thought, with that notion that it's okay, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
However, make a new mistake the next time and learn from this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think three messages going on there. So one is live life king size, um,
Or queen size.
or queen size. Uh, is there a um, term which is gender agnostic? I don't know. But anyway, so I was wondering. So make the most of the space. That's the second piece, and make new mistakes. And I just want to say this, that. Um, I've been facilitating now for quite some time now, and I've also seen many facilitators. No matter how good you are, you're Tony Robbins, you're Gordon, Seth Godin, or Marshall
Yeah.
Gordon. At some point in time, you are going to screw up. You cannot help that, and
Yes.
and you're going to screw up. Not in the times when you thought it is going to be a really tough program, because those times you're probably going to be really well prepped or something like that. You're going to
Yes.
screw up when it's going to be that client you've done it 10 times, 100 times for, that audience, which is two levels below the CEO, and you've been doing CEOs workshops and stuff. So, and you never expected it. And it's a workshop which you've done, you can do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
Screw up. All right. And the message that I'm what I'm taking from here is also that it doesn't come just by saying that. It's something that you need to learn to live, journal, and unwire or rewire in your brain. Say,
Yes.
you got to stop kicking yourself. That's such a darn tough thing to do. So, and
Exactly.
learning opportunity, that's so damn tough to do. Yeah, sorry, you're saying something.
No, I was saying absolutely, meaning you made a very pertinent point here, that you need to stop badgering yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay, meaning, like, and very rightly said, meaning I had done some of these programs over and over again, and they were like, okay, I don't need to prep, I can do it. And that's where, boom,
Yeah.
something didn't go right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay, meaning I learned from there. Maybe I learned that I should not get complacent and I should practice.
Right.
Yeah, like for today, how much I love talking, right? I can talk and I can talk for hours or together. uh, but since this is my first podcast,
Yeah.
I made sure I prepped,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the learning that I took from my mistakes in the past, and I made sure that I maybe did a new mistake in this podcast, and I learned from here, right? I don't know.
No mistakes here. And I want to you thrown some stats at me. I want to throw a stat at you that 50% of all
Okay.
facilitators die from mistakes in the class. Is completely untrue. Guys, nobody dies from a bloody mistake in a class. You live, get your bread and butter. I know that's on your mind. You get your bread and butter, and you live, no matter how bad a mistake it is. You live, but just ensure that learning is not just a cliche, but you actually do sit down and do a wash up of that and
Yeah.
see what you can do better about it. Parul, it's been so nice talking to you. It's been good fun. We've had plenty of
Likewise.
laughs and also learned in the meanwhile. I've learned. And so thank you for making time.
Thank you. I also learned that 50% of us won't die.
50% will, yeah. So good. Hope looking forward. I must get this one inside. We're looking forward to having you around sometime in the future on this podcast.
I
And
would love to. Please continue with the series. I absolutely love viewing all the podcasts that you've done till now.
thank you so much, Parul.